Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Am's Untitled Podcast. I'm Am. Hi, if you've never met me, it's very nice to meet you. I recently started this podcast just as a hobby for the time being. It's just something that I enjoy to do. Wow, great English. It's just something I enjoy doing, is what I meant. And yeah, it's just at the minute, it's just for fun, nothing special. Just basically a place where I get to ramble on about my favorite things. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. I'm sure a lot of people love rambling about their favorite things. I'm one of those people. And this episode of the podcast is reviewing episode 6 of the Percy Jackson series. So I'm on the last 2 episodes now, and I'm actually kind of sad. Like, I was really enjoying reviewing these, but I'm excited to go back into the books again. And yeah, so let's get started. So the title of the episode is "We Take the Zebra to Vegas." So I already knew that the Vegas casino scene is coming, and I was really excited about that. I was excited to see what they do with it. I don't remember it very well from the movie. Like I said, I only ever watched the movies once or twice because I was so upset with them. But anyway, a podcast is not about the movies; it's about the TV show. So the episode sort of opens with um a dream sequence, and in the dream sequence, there's the headmaster and the lightning thief, but you can't see the lightning thief. Obviously, they're behind a door, and they're talking about how the Master Bolt and what is going to happen after the war between Zeus and Poseidon. So basically, the master stealing the Master Bolt was only the beginning of something worse that's coming, essentially. And I think the way that they've opened this episode is it kind of leaves the audience like on hinge a little bit. Like, oh, like what's going on? Obviously book readers know like what's gonna happen. But for anybody who hasn't read the books, it's a bit like, oh, that's a bit of a strange way to start the episode. But I like it because it kind of puts the audience like at the edge of their seat, you could say. And Percy can hear this conversation that's going on, but he doesn't know like the people who are in the dream. He only knows that it's the headmaster and the lightning thief. And the what made me laugh was about this was like they know the people who are in the dream know that Percy's present, and they tell him that it's not time for them to meet yet. So it's quite an ominous beginning to the episode, but I like that. I like that the episodes are getting a little bit more mature because obviously these books, as much as they're for children, which I don't think that they're children's books, if I'm totally honest. Like, I know that they were written for kids, but like I think it's a good adult series as well because there's a lot of maturity in these books. I think that's why I think so many adults also love these books. And it was a really good. I thought it was a really good way of opening the episode because it's almost as if like, oh, like what's gonna happen? Like, what's bigger than stealing the Master Ball? If you know what I mean? Yeah. So then Percy wakes up from the dream and comes one of my favorite scenes, which is the Iris messaging scene. And Percy wakes up inside the animal truck, which is transporting them to Las Vegas, to the Vegas casino, basically. And then Annabeth is trying to send an Iris message with Grover's help. And if you don't know what an Iris message is, it's basically the way that demigods communicate because they can't use phones, basically. And what I really like about this bit is she says, "Toss it, seaweed brain," and that's like a line from the books. And it's Percy's nickname. It's Annabeth's nickname for Percy through the whole book series. So it was just so nice that they put that in there, and it was a real like subtle hint. But like I know book readers and Percabeth shippers would have gone insane. I went insane when I heard her say it. I was like, "Oh, that's so cute." I'm glad that they're pulling that thread from the book. It's great. And then they see through the Iris message Luke poking around Chiron's office. And it's a bit like, what is he doing? Like, why is he like he's acting really like shifty? And obviously book readers know that Luke is the lightning thief. I'm so sorry if you haven't seen it, I've just spoiled it. I did warn you that these podcasts are gonna be full of spoilers because A, I can't keep my mouth shut, and B, I know too many details on the books. And I think it's a nice hint to people who haven't read the books, like, oh, like, what's he doing? Why is he poking around the office? Like, I think it was a very subtle hint to people that he may be the thief. And I think it's the moment where Annabeth starts to become a little bit suspicious of him because she sort of looks at him like, what are you doing? Sort of thing. Like, why is he poking around the office? And there's no like apparent reason why he should be there. And he sort of makes like this BS excuse that, oh, like Chiron's holding camp together with both hands. And, it doesn't actually explain why he's there. And I think that's like probably one of the biggest hints in the show as to Luke being the thief, but I don't know. And then Percy and Annabeth sort of tell them that they worked out who the lightning thief is, and he sort of panics a little bit, like, "Oh, how do they know?" And they say that it's Clarice, but because they think that it's Clarice, but it's actually not. And they're basically trying to say that she's scheming with her dad. But what's so funny is Charlie's expressions. Like Charlie plays Luke, he's like, "Oh," like he really looks scared. So there were so many hints in just that one scene that he was going to be the lightning thief. I thought it was really funny. I'm not gonna lie. I was like watching his face, like he's like, "Oh my God, these guys are gonna out me," and they didn't. It was really funny. And then it moves on to Percy and Annabeth just casually discussing like the few times where they've nearly died on the quest. And they say it like it's nothing, like it's just an everyday occurrence. And I guess for demigods, obviously, if you haven't read the books, you don't know this, but demigods die in the most brutal ways, and they're constantly being chased by monsters and threats. And they just it's so funny. They're like discussing it as if like they're a couple, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we survived this, this, and this," and then Luke asks them, he's like, "When did you guys turn into an old married couple?" And we're like, "Yes, Luke understands the Percabeth relationship." Yeah. And they both just look away, like really embarrassed. It's so cute. And I just kept thinking in my head, don't worry, guys, like it's a long way to go before you turn into partners. But yeah, it was so cute. And I love that Luke is a low-key Percy shipper. I think it's really, really cute. And Percy like tries to divert the subject and he tries to talk about Luke's father, who's Hermes, who's the god of travelers. And Annabeth cuts him off and ends the Iris message. And she basically says that the reason why Percy can't tell them that they're going to see Hermes is because Luke and him don't get along, and that's more of a thread in the books, but it is mentioned in the show a little bit further on in the episode. Now comes like the bit I was really excited for, which is the Lotus Casino and Hotel scene. And I love that the scene opens with Dua Lipa's song "Levitating." I do know that song actually. I really like that song, and that it was a really good pick for the scene. Like it's a nice way to sort of start like the scene on like a high note, I guess. Just yeah, whoever picked that song for that scene did a great job. Like respect for picking that song. And the set, honestly, the set designers have done such an amazing job. It really does look like a Lotus Casino. Like it looks like a casino in Vegas. It's amazing. And I guess they do their job right. It looks so realistic. It's great. And then Grover sort of asked Percy, if he's read the Odyssey. And if you don't know what happens in the Odyssey, basically Odysseus lands on a beach and he finds these guys who've forgotten everything, like where they come from, like who they are, and it's all because they've eaten a lotus flower. So Percy asks Annabeth, like, "What do we do?" And he calls her Wise Girl, and that's her nickname from the book. So it was so cute. Like my little Percival heart was like, "That's so cute." Yeah, and I love that they've not just casually thrown those nicknames in there for no reason. I think it sort of is like showing a shift in their relationship from like being friends to like close friends, which I really like that they're able to have those nicknames, which I think is so cute. And yeah, Annabeth just sort of looks at Grover and says, just don't eat anything, don't eat the lotus flowers. And he's like, "Why are you looking at me when you said that?" It's a really funny moment. It's really cute. Arian's expression, like he genuinely looks like hurt. He's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe she would say that about me." Yeah. And then eventually, it moves on to a frame where the trio have to split up to try and find Hermes because the Lotus Casino is absolutely huge. So Percy and Annabeth go together as usual. Or what do you expect? Percabeth moment gonna happen there. And then Grover goes by himself. And then Annabeth basically tells Grover that if he finds Hermes first, he should come and get her so that she can talk to him. And they're like, "Yeah, okay." Then it moves on to more of Percy and Annabeth. And Annabeth basically tells Percy that Luke's mom is a seer. And if you don't, and I don't think that's revealed in the first book. I think that comes much later on in the storyline. But if you don't know what a seer is a human that can see through the mist, and the mist is the veil that guards the demigod world from the mortal world, I guess you could say. And they're people who can see the future. And sometimes they see these horrific things that messes them up, I guess you could say. They get like traumatized from it. And then whilst they're talking about that, it moves on to Grover, who finds another satyr called Augustus, who was someone who was very special to his uncle Ferdinand. He was a huge influence on him becoming a searcher for Pan. And I like that the show is giving more of Grover's backstory, because his backstory is just as important as Percy's, as Annabeth's, as anybody, you know. I'm glad that in the TV show, like, because the books are told in Percy's perspective, you only get to know what Percy knows. Whereas when you have a show and you're adapting it, you can add so much more to other characters, which I really like. Like, I'm glad that they never chose to do movies and they went straight into a TV show. I think it's a much better idea. And Augustus tells Grover that he found Pan. So if you don't know Pan is the god of the wild. I talked about him maybe a few episodes ago, I think. But yeah, if you listen to all my reviews of the episodes, I give details about each new god that comes in. Anyway, and then it cuts back to Percy and Annabeth, and Percy is talking to her about this dream that he had at the beginning, obviously at the beginning of the episode. And it's so nice because it shows that they really do trust each other now, and they've become friends, which is laying the foundation of their future relationship, I guess you could say. And then, yeah, he's like, "Oh, I don't know what that means. Like, what do you think?" And she goes, I don't know." And he said, "What do you mean you don't know?" And she just says, like, "Look, there are just things that I don't know. Like, I'm not all knowing." And it's so sweet because Percy looks at her and he says, "If you don't know, then I won't know either." And it just really subtly sums up their relationship in a nutshell. And, Percy doesn't believe in the gods, but the one thing always believed in is Annabeth. And Walker and Leah, like their relationship, honestly, it's got to be the most accurate representation of Percabeth that I have ever seen, because they just bounce off each other so well. And, this relationship is so special to me. Like, I don't read romance in general, I don't really like it. But this was a thread from the books, and I really loved it. And I do think that they are such an incredible love story. Like, I always say this, like, they are honestly the greatest love story of all time. And yeah, I'm glad that they're giving them these special moments where, they're sharing these important things. Because what I love about, sorry, going on a tangent here, but what I love about Percy and Annabeth's relationship is that it's not, I love you this, I love you that. It's more about this intense emotional connection and this willingness to do anything for the person that you love. And, they just have that, and they're literally like soulmates, and it's just beautiful. And I'm sure there are so many Percabeth shippers like me that are like, yeah, they're the one, like they are the gold standard of love. Like if you're ever gonna love somebody, you want to love them like that. And yeah, it's amazing. Anyway, going back, went on a whole Percabeth tangent there. That's gonna happen in the last few episodes. I'm so sorry, guys. Like I can't help it. And then it cuts back to Grover and Augustus. And one thing like I noticed was when they were talking, there was these little voices in the background saying Nico and Bianca. Now, this was like a huge Easter egg for me, because I was like, oh my God, like they're teasing like future characters. And for people who haven't read the books, I'm so sorry. I'm just going to backtrack a second. You're probably confused. Who's Nico and Bianca? So Nico is a son of Hades, and Bianca is a daughter of Hades, and they're brother and sister. So I think they're Hades' forbidden children. I think they've come from a mortal mother. That's what makes them demigods. They're not actually from Hades' wife. But yeah, I was just like, whoa. I was like, I heard them shout it in the background. I had to rewind that bit to make sure like I wasn't hearing things. But yeah, they do actually say it. And their characters appear, I think, for the first time. I believe it's in Titan's Curse. Like I said, like my whole thing is a bit fuzzy at the moment. I need to go back and read the books. I'm just waiting for my new copies to arrive. Oh no, I didn't. Did I tell you? Did I tell you guys about this? Oh yeah. So basically, I've ordered some new copies of the Percy Jackson books, because my books are kind of falling apart a little bit. They've got like bends in the spine and everything, and I love that. I love that it shows that I've read them so many times. But like, I need a new set with covers that are actually on Rick's website, not the 20th anniversary edition covers, I believe, but. When they arrive, I'll take a picture and put them on Instagram. But yeah, I'm really excited to get a new flash copy of them to reread for this podcast, basically. Little gift to myself. Not that I need to give myself anything, but yeah, and I just want to put them on my bookshelf. Yeah, they're beautiful. Anyway, yeah, so I think they appear first in Titan's Curse. So I'm so happy that they've made this like invisible string that they can pull in a future season, I guess. And then the music starts intensifying, and Grover's like forgetting things. And like he's always like, oh, like why am I here? Like who was I with? And it's like he's in the casino, so obviously he's starting to forget things, and he's by himself as well, which makes it worse. Then Augustus tells him that, oh, you're here with me, like you're here to help me, and he just walks out of the frame. Now, this is the bit that I feel like I keep saying this about every single bit, but the bit that I'm thinking about in particular was the scene where Percy and Annabeth meet Hermes. If you don't know who Hermes is the god of travelers. He's Luke's father, and he's played by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and he did an absolutely incredible job of this character. Like he's I could not think of somebody better to play that role. Like he just does it so well. And he's basically, I don't know if he's playing poker or something. I don't know much about casino games, if I'm truly honest. I've only ever been to a bar. I've never been to a casino, so I don't really know. But he basically tells them that he knows that they need his help to get into the underworld, but he's going to have to refuse them. And then Annabeth quickly jumps into the conversation and she says, "Oh, but we're friends of Luke's." And his face inadvertently just softens. And the vulnerability on Lin-Manuel Miranda's face in that scene. Oh my God, he's such a good actor. Like I've seen him in Hamilton and I was blown away by his performance. And now him in something like Percy Jackson, which is one of my favorite series, makes me very, very happy. And he basically takes them to sit at table. Oh, he transports them magically, and they sit at the table. And he says that, parenting is difficult, and if people haven't read the books, I'll just give you like a little sort of insight. I don't know where this comes in the books. I can't remember where they talk about Luke's story. I'm not 100% sure. But basically, Luke and Hermes' relationship is quite complicated, to say the least. Luke hates him because he sees his father as the reason his mom became a seer, and that why she's suffering so much. He blames his dad for it, I guess, for constantly staying in touch with them, even though he knew that it could cause them issues, I guess. And he says that he remembers Annabeth being present there during his fight with Luke. And honestly, I'm so happy that they've turned Hermes. Like, I don't really remember much of him in the book, but like, I'm happy that they've given Hermes like this other kind of this softer side to him, I guess, because what we're trying to say is the gods, although that they're gods, they do have these human emotions, and I think Lin Manuel Miranda plays that part beautifully. But he still says that he doesn't want to help them, and he literally says that, "Oh, let me remind you of something," and he touches Percy's hand, and Percy gets like a flashback of his younger self, and Walker just looks, so upset all of a sudden, like the change in his facial expressions. See, his face acting is insane. Like he conveys so much through his eyes and through his face in general. Like I guess that makes him such a phenomenal actor, considering the guy's only 15 years old or something. How old is he? 15? But when he shot this, he must have been about 12. Oh my God, like for a 12-year-old to have that kind of talent, like I don't see a lot of young actors that have that sort of talent. So much respect for that. And then Annabeth walks out saying that, this was like a total waste of time. And Hermes tells Percy that, it was your father, Poseidon, that warned me to stay away from Luke and his mother, and I didn't. Like, I didn't listen to him. And the reason, do I really want to say this? The reason why Poseidon says this is because something happened to Hades when he refused to stay away from Nico and Bianca's mother. But I think I'll touch on that a little bit later on. I don't really want to go into that right now. But yeah, basically, there's a law that the gods shouldn't meddle with their mortal families, I guess, and their demigod children. Like they shouldn't be there for them or help them in any sort of way, which is all sorts of wrong. But we'll come back to that. And then, Hermes just sits there looking at his watch like, tick, tick, tick tock, tick tock. And I think it's basically hinting to the audience that the time is very much running out on their quest. And then Percy exits the scene, and that's where you see the last bits of Hermes, I guess. And then Annabeth tells Percy that, she picked his pocket. to get the keys to his car so their car can transport them to Santa Monica and then eventually the underworld. Sorry, I just realized I talk so fast. It's unbelievable. And it is really warm. Like we're having a heat wave at the minute. I don't even know what the temperature is outside. Like, what is the temperature? I just check. I'm like sweltering. What is the temperature? Oh my God, it's like 18 degrees. That's hot. For where I live, that's hot. And like I'm literally sweating out. And I can't have the window open because obviously while I'm recording this, I don't think you guys want to hear the sound off the street. But also like I don't really like having the window open. I don't know why, because I don't think that there's a breeze outside anyway. So if I was really going to cool down, I'd probably need to bring my fan from my bedroom. But it seems a bit weird to be having a fan downstairs in May. But yeah, whatever. And yeah, let's come back to what I was talking about. So if you hear me just stop talking, I promise I haven't run out of things to say. I just need a drink because it's really hot in here. And I've got the worst headache you can possibly imagine. But like my brain is literally pounding as I'm recording this. But anyway, let's move back on. Yeah, so Annabeth picked Hermes' pocket with the keys to his car, and then Percy, they realize that it's gone dark, and he goes, it's actually Thursday. He goes, time moves completely differently in this casino. The whole like idea behind this casino is like people don't want to leave, and even though it feels like it's only been 20 minutes, it's actually been 4 days for them. And he says to Annabeth that, look, they pump the lotus fruit into the air. That stops people from leaving the casino, like basically just trapping them in there. And yeah. And then Annabeth is like, oh, there's something else. He's like, oh, Grover. And then Percy's like, who's Grover? Like, he's completely forgotten. This lotus fruit is making them forget things, but they're forgetting things a lot more slowly because obviously they're together and they know their purpose of being there, I guess. And they see Augustus? Why did I say it like that? Augustus coming down the escalator. And they're like, oh, we're looking for our friend. Oh, you've got to be joking me. Do you guys hear that? Somebody's playing music like right outside the house. Oh, pee off. I'm trying to record. I think it stopped. Okay, right. We carry on. Sorry, what was I saying? I was talking about Augustus. And they question him about, where's Grover? And he just runs away. And Percy runs behind him and he rugby tackles him to the floor. And he says, where's Grover? Sort of thing. Like, he's worried about him, because he's just gone completely missing. And it's a nice comedic moment because so far the episode had been like really like emotional. And I talked about this like a few episodes ago, I think, where I was like, they're very good at putting these high intense scenes, but then giving us a bit of a comic relief, I guess, which is I think is really important, especially since this show is going to be like viewed by younger people. Like that comic relief is necessary sometimes when things, excuse me, get a little bit too much, I guess. And then they eventually find Grover and he's playing a game in virtual reality. Basically, he's trying to find Pan, essentially. But he doesn't remember them, which is weird. Like, he's just looking at them like, oh, have I met you before? And it's so sad because, like, oh my God, like, being away from them just, like, completely changed him, I guess. And it was really scary. Like, when he said, oh, sorry, have we met? Gosh, everything. Anyway, they're like, oh, we're your friends and we need to go and we're running out of time and we're going on a quest. And he's like, and he gets so excited. He's like, yeah, 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 let's go on a quest, let's go. And then the next scene I want to talk about, and honestly kills me every time I watch it, is the kids trying to drive out the casino. And just before that, like Grover still can't remember anything, like for the life of him, what's going on. And he said, "Oh, are we late because of me?" Like like you could tell, like he still feels bad for causing an issue. And Percy says, "You know what? It's okay. Like everything's gonna be okay." And honestly, they're just the best like bromance relationship I've ever seen. Like the way they look after each other, protect each other. Because obviously, long before Annabeth, Percy and Grover were together, and I think that companionship really shows well in the show. And Arian and Walker have a really good chemistry. I'll put that out that they really do have good chemistry. And then Annabeth eventually finds a car, which is a cab, which is apparently what Hermes drives around when he delivers the mail to the gods. And he leaves the kids a note. So he doesn't explicitly help them, but he does help them, if you know what I mean. Like he indirectly helps them is the word I'm looking for. And then Percy's like, yeah, you know what? Like all they all they have to do is drive the car out of like the parking facility, and then once they're on the road, the car will take them wherever it is they need to go. And Percy's like, yeah, I killed a minotaur on my first try. Like, how hard can it possibly be to drive a car? And can I just say, he's an absolutely awful driver. Like, he crashed into the wall and then he crashed into the fence, I think as well. And the guy killed a minotaur but can't drive. Demigod sums it up, right? And the scene is so funny, and it's my favorite, one of my favorite trio moments in the show. I think like they're just looking at their faces. Grover's like, "Yeah, you're doing great," and Annabeth's like, "Just aim for the middle," she's just trying to help him. And my favorite part is when this random car starts driving in front of them, and like Percy has to slam down the brakes, and he's like, "The guy didn't even slow down," and he just starts beeping the horn. And it's so funny. It's such a Percy moment. I love it. I think Walker brings that her sassy nature really, really well. I think he does that like absolutely incredibly. And then it just makes me laugh because he nearly crashes the car again because he's too busy looking at Annabeth just because she smiled at him and they almost crashed. Yep, he's a gunner, guys. Like Percabeth is getting 10 times cuter than it was when I read the book, and I am here for it. Like, I love it. I'm definitely not complaining about it at all. And then comes another car, and just as they're about to crash, the car transports them to Santa Monica, which is where Percy is going to meet his father for the first time. It's well, basically they get transported. Is there a pier in Santa Monica? I think that's what it's supposed to be, the Santa Monica Pier. And yeah, he goes, I think I need to go and meet my dad now. And Grover suddenly remembers that, yeah, Annabeth and Percy, they're my best friends. And he says, it's so weird that I forgot so much more than you guys. And Annabeth was like, yeah, because we weren't alone, you were alone, that's why you forgot things. They had each other, that's why they couldn't forget anything. And I think it's a nice little node to Heroes of Olympus because in that Percy loses his memory and the only thing that he can remember is Annabeth. And yeah, I thought that was a really cute moment. I don't think the show put that in there for that. I think I'm just making connections randomly, but I love that about myself. I love that I can think deeply about it. And yeah, Percy realizes that, he'll have to go and meet his dad by himself. And, he basically just says to him, like, I don't know what to say. And Annabeth says, like, don't worry, like, you'll know what to say when you meet him. Oh, she reassures him. It's so sweet. Like, I don't think you guys realize how much it touches my heart. We love a supportive girl friend. I guess just a friend who's a girl for now, which is going to change in the future, which I'm here for. I'm really excited about it. But yeah. And then Percy goes swimming in the sea and he meets a narrate? What are they? I don't know how you actually pronounce it. I guess when you read it in a book, you pronounce it how you. I think it's a narrate, but I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation of it. But yeah, anyway. And then Percy finds out that his father isn't here, and that is because the summer solstice has passed earlier in the day, meaning that they missed the deadline for the quest, and that now there's going to be a war between Zeus and Poseidon. So his father has gone to prepare for the war, basically. And she says to him, like he waited as long as he could, but it's too late now to do anything. And she says that his father is so very proud of him and that he's been released from his quest and he can go back to camp. But Percy said, it's like, no, like, I'm not doing that. Like, I have to see this through. He's just absolutely determined to complete the quest. And that's another, like, trait of his from the books. Like, he never does anything halfway. Like, he does everything to finish what he's supposed to do. He's got this responsibility to carry this quest and he's going to see it through. And he doesn't care whether he's missed the deadline. And that determination is something, like, I really admire in him as a character. And the narrator tells him, there's so much of his father in him, like he's so much more like his father than he realizes, but I guess he's not going to know that because he's never met him, I guess. And then she says, like what's belongs to the sea can always return, and she gives him 4 pearls, and those pearls provide safe passage from the underworld, basically, so that they can return from the underworld. And he says, yeah, but there's 4, and he's only thinking, oh, there's only him, Annabeth, and Grover, so who's the 4th person for? And she says to him, go save the world, but then you go back and you save your mother. And it's such a huge thing because it's like everybody knows how important Sally Jackson is, not only for Percy, but for Poseidon as well. And, you know, it was just such a wrenching, like heart wrenching, is that a word? Gut wrenching moment for me because I was like, oh my God, like everybody can see that he's doing this for his mother. And I think it comes back to the point that I was making, like at the beginning when I reviewed the first episode, that Sally Jackson is literally the backbone of this book and this series, this season one at the very least, because his entire thing, the reason why he first went on this quest, is to save her. And their mother and son relationship is unbelievably beautiful, and it does make me emotional. Like when I was watching that scene, I was like, wow, like this boy, the things that he would do to protect his mother is just absolutely incredible. Yeah, I love Percy and Sally Jackson. I think their relationship is amazing. And then yeah, that's kind of where the episode comes to an end, I guess. Um, so my sort of final thoughts and feelings on the episode, it was a really emotional episode. Like I liked that there was more of Grover's backstory, more of not Percy, um, Luke's backstory. I loved Lin-Manuel Miranda as Hermes. I think he was a perfect casting choice. He added so much to that character. He brought a lot of heart and soul to that character, which I really liked. The Lotus Casino hotel set was just amazing. It's so realistic, and yeah, I loved the whole set. Big round of applause to the set designers of the show. They've done an absolutely incredible job. And then I liked the mini percabeth moments where they're assigning nicknames. I think that's really cute, and I can't wait to see them use them more in future seasons, I guess. And I loved the Nico and Bianca little Easter egg. I'm really excited to see who they cast for Nico and Bianca. And one day, hopefully, when this podcast gets a bit bigger and has a big audience, like I hope that one day, like I get to sit down and interview anybody from the cast and just be like, even if I get to speak to Rick, actually, I don't know if I could speak to Rick. I think I'd be too starstruck. I'd be like, no, I can't do this right now. But yeah, I would love to talk to Rick one day about this because these books honestly mean the world to me. And, I just can't get over how amazing this world is that he's created. And I'm so happy that he was given the chance by Disney to see this through and be a writer on the show and bring so much more. Because this is his baby, this is his passion project. Like he's been working on this for nearly 2 decades. I think the books were released when I was a kid, I think. Yeah, hold on. When were they released, the books? Is it 2005 or 2004? Can't remember. But yeah, so he's been working on this for nearly 2 decades, and that just shows that he loves this world even two more decades later, and he's touched millions of people all over the world, and made people with difficulties feel special, and that they had like a really special purpose in life. And I love that about his writing style. He's created characters that I've absolutely fallen in love with, and he's given me such a benchmark for love as well, Percy and Annabeth standard, which I'll always be forever grateful for. And yeah, he's creating an awesome TV show that I'm really looking forward to seeing future seasons of. I want them to do at least the first 5 books. Yeah, the original series of books. I really, really want them to do that. I really want to see where Walker, Ari, and Leah, Charlie, Dior take this thing because they have so much potential. Like I can't wait to see like what they do next season. Like I'm really, really excited, and I'm hoping that I'm still doing this podcast so I can review the episodes just like I've done for the first series. And yeah, just want to say it was a good episode. I really enjoyed it. Some nice moments from the books that are sort of incorporated in there as well. And yeah, that's basically it. I really enjoyed it. So thank you guys so much for listening in. I really appreciate it. This episode a little bit shorter than normal. I must have really fastly breathed through all the points, I guess. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening in. I really, really appreciate it. I've somehow managed to record this even though I've had a pounding headache, so I'm very happy with myself. And this podcast will go up as soon as possible. And like I said, any questions for me, any content recommendations, if anybody wants to discuss Percy Jackson or any of the other books that I've talked about in the first episode, feel free to DM me at Aamsuntitledpodcast on Instagram. Or if you feel a little bit more comfortable and want to be a little bit anonymous, you can always Gmail me. It's fine. That's also amsuntitledpodcast@gmail.com. I do check it regularly, I promise. And yeah, just let me know if you guys are enjoying these episodes. And yeah, keep watching Percy Jackson. It's the whole series is streaming now on Disney Plus. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you watch it. If you haven't read the books, go ahead and watch them. They're absolutely incredible. Watch the books. I mean, read the books. They're incredible. And yeah, I'll speak to you guys next week. So thank you so much again for listening in. Yeah, speak to you guys next week. Next episode, I'll be reviewing the second to last episode, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, I'll speak to you guys later. Bye. Big hug to everybody listening, and I'll see you next week.